In May 2026, in the space of a single month, the busiest property market on Earth fell off a cliff. Sales volume in Dubai dropped 42%. Sellers who weeks earlier had been fielding bidding wars on beachfront villas were suddenly slashing tens of millions off their asking prices. And here's the strange part. While that was happening, some of the most sophisticated investors in the world were buying. In 2025, Dubai recorded more than 200,000 property transactions, worth nearly 540 billion dirham. And in the first 3 months of 2026, even with a war in the region, buyers still moved 176 billion more. So which is it, a fragile bubble or the most resilient market on the planet? To answer that, you can't start with the crash. You have to start with a single decision, made more than 20 years ago, that built this market out of desert and law. For most of its history, Dubai didn't let foreigners own property at all. The land beneath you belonged to someone else, permanently. That changed in 2002. A single decree opened parts of the city to full foreign ownership. Suddenly, an investor in Mumbai, or London, or Lagos could own a piece of a fast-growing global city outright. The money came fast, maybe too fast. Buyers flipped unbuilt apartments to other buyers, who flipped them again. Then the 2008 crisis hit. Prices in some areas dropped 50, 60, even 65%. Cranes froze. It recovered sharply, then corrected again. From 2014 to 2020, a slower bleed of 30 to 40%. So when people tell you Dubai real estate only goes up, the record says, flatly, that this is false. But this cycle looks different. It wasn't built on flippers. It was built on people actually moving to Dubai and tying property to residency. Prices grew over 18% in 2024, nearly 13% in 2025, then forecasters predicted something almost boring, a cool down. So why does global money keep treating this volatile market as safe? The answer has nothing to do with the buildings. Here's a number that explains more about Dubai than any skyline. Zero. Zero personal income tax. Zero capital gains tax. Zero annual property tax for an individual. Now hold that against the world. An investor in Singapore pays a 60% surcharge just for being foreign. In London, a foreign buyer can face 17% upfront and income tax on the rent as high as 45%. Dubai's equivalent entry cost? A flat 4%. No foreign surcharge. No second home penalty. So as the old wealth hubs raise the drawbridge, Dubai lowers it. The shout, the place money runs to when home gets too expensive. Here's the core. In a high-tax city, a property yields 3%. And you keep under 2. In Dubai, you keep 4 to 8. One more piece. The dirham is pegged to the US dollar. For a dollar investor, currency risk simply vanishes. Indians are the largest group of buyers, but they're followed by the British, Chinese, Saudis, Pakistanis, Russians, each for their own reason. So this isn't an Indian story or an expat story. It's a global one, where the world's money goes when home charges too much. But wanting to own something and legally owning it are two different things, and this is where newcomers make their first expensive mistake. In Dubai, the word ownership hides a fork in the road, and the wrong turn can cost you everything you put in. The first path is freehold. You own the building and the land beneath it, outright, forever. Dubai's best districts are freehold zones for foreigners. The second path is leasehold. You hold it for 30 to 99 years. Then it reverts. You own time, not the asset. Here's the trap. A buyer grabs what looks like a villa in budget and later finds they bought a 99-year lease, not the land. As the lease ticks down, the value erodes, and banks won't lend against it. The mistake was geographic. The professionals verify the exact plot against the official freehold registry before signing. So what actually happens, step by step, when you buy? Most people expect a fast market to be chaotic. Dubai's is the opposite, almost unnervingly digital. Take a ready home. You agree a price through a licensed broker who generates Form F, a binding contract fixing price, penalties, and timeline. You put down a deposit, standardly 10%, held in trust, not handed to the seller. The seller obtains a no-objection certificate, proving no unpaid charges hang over the unit. Everyone meets at a trustee office, the balance changes hands, and a new title deed is issued instantly to an app on your phone. Now the second route, off-plan, buying a property that hasn't been built yet. This is where instincts scream danger. You're handing money for an apartment that is, today, a hole in the ground. So Dubai built a law. Every dirham goes into a regulated escrow account the developer can't touch, except as inspectors certify real construction milestones. If the developer goes bankrupt, your money is ring-fenced, sitting in escrow, not absorbed into the wreckage. That's why off-plan is still 70% of sales. Buyers trust the plumbing. So why do so many still run out of money at closing? Because the price on the listing is a lie. Not a dishonest one, a structural one. Picture a buyer who's budgeted exactly 1.5 million dirhams for an apartment. They feel ready. Then the real bill appears. 4% to the land department, 2% to the broker plus VAT. Trustee fees, mortgage fees. Suddenly they're more than 100,000 dirhams short of closing. The pros rule is simple. Budget 6 to 7% extra in cash, 8.5% with a mortgage. Get it wrong and you can forfeit that 10% deposit entirely. Real money, gone. Now comes the decision that actually determines whether this was a good investment. What exactly do you buy? In Dubai, you're rarely choosing a property. You're choosing between two things that rarely come together: cash flow and growth. Start with the builder, your insurance policy. In early 2026, one name towered, Emaar, with nearly 24 billion dirhams in sales. Then the neighborhood. In Jumeirah Village Circle, apartments throw off 7.5% to over 8%. Out in Dubai Investment Park, with a captive tenant base, yields climb to 9, 10, 11%, cash flow machines. But in prestige districts, yields fall to 4 or 5%. So why buy there? The land cannot be replaced. Over 1 decade, villas on the Palm rose 118%. One sold for 216 million dirhams. And the contrarian play, the south of the city, trading at 40 to 60% discounts, a bet that the map is being redrawn. The developer also shapes the product. Damac sells branded residences, interiors by Cavalli and Versace, built fast with resort-style amenities. So you don't pick a developer reputation alone. You pick the one whose strengths match your goal: liquidity, yield, or prestige. But almost nobody pays all cash. How does a foreigner borrow here? And how can a flat get you more than the flat itself? Let's deal with the loan first, because the rules are stricter for outsiders than most people expect. Live in UAE, a bank may lend 80%. A non-resident wiring from abroad gets 50 to 60, bringing 40 to 50 in cash. Rates sit between 4 and 5%, with non-residents paying a small premium. And the paperwork is serious. 6 months of bank statements, home tax returns, international credit reports. This isn't a frontier free-for-all. Now the part that turns a purchase into something bigger: the golden visa. For years, living in Dubai meant employer sponsorship. The golden visa broke that link. Buy property worth 2 million dirhams, and you get 10-year residency. In early 2026, it got easier. The old rule said, pay half up front. A February circular scrapped it. You qualify on day one. One Canadian buyer applied using an off-plan apartment that didn't physically exist. From application to residency card in hand, 11 days. It all sounds frictionless, almost too good. Which is the perfect moment for the one number almost everyone gets wrong. When a broker quotes a yield, they're quoting gross. And gross yield is the most cheerful, least honest number in real estate. Buy a one-bed in JVC for 1 million, plus 70,000 in fees. It rents for 70,000. That looks like 7%. Now subtract reality. Service charges, management, maintenance, the odd empty month. Your real take-home settles near 4.5%. Service charges vary wildly. 2 dirhams a square foot for villas, up to 68 in the Burj Khalifa, every year, occupied or not. Here's the trap. One old complex advertises a glittering 9%, but it barely appreciates and maintenance is brutal. That 9% is an illusion. The advertised yield tells you almost nothing, and the difference is everything. But a yield only matters if you can keep a tenant. Owning the asset is the easy part. Being a landlord in Dubai has its own rulebook, and breaking it is expensive. Every lease must be registered in the government system, Ijari. Skip it, and if a tenant stops paying, the tribunal won't even hear your case. To remove a tenant, you need a 12-month notice, served through a notary, for a valid reason. A text or email simply doesn't count. Follow the rulebook and the system protects you. Ignore it, and you join the long list who lost money here. Let's look at that list. Every opportunity has trade-offs. So let's examine the costs that can reduce your overall returns. First, supply. Around 120,000 homes arrive by 2027. If they're not filled, exposed areas could fall 5 to 12%. Then debt. UAE mortgage rates track the US Federal Reserve. When global rates stay high, leveraged returns quietly compress. Then the thing the opening was really about. When conflict escalated, the Dubai index fell 20 to 30%. The people hurt most weren't cautious. Bankers in London and Dubai had bought off-plan apartments by the handful, sometimes more than 10 units each. The brutal truth: an off-plan plan isn't flexible financing. It's rigid debt. You owe the next installment, whether or not there's a war on. Miss enough payments, and the developer can cancel your contract and keep up to 40% of the property's entire value. And the quiet failures are everywhere. The yield that collapses under service charges, the chiller-free apartment build even while empty, the unit secretly sold twice. Without a valid will, inheritance follows the applicable default law, and the outcome may be very different from what the family expected. The fix costs almost nothing. Register a will. The failure can cost a family their house. And don't assume cash protects you. One UK investor bought a one-bedroom resort apartment on the Palm Count, paid in full, no mortgage. Then conflict escalated. Flights turned unpredictable, tourists hesitated, and by April the bookings collapsed entirely. The apartment stopped producing. But here's why he didn't panic sell. He was diversified. One bad asset in one bad month didn't force his hand. Undercapitalized amateurs aren't so lucky. It sounds like a minefield, but here's the twist that separates the Dubai of 2026 from the Dubai of 2008. The rules change sides. Historically, Dubai's reputation was that a developer could take your money, fail to build, and walk away. That's now out of date. In one case, a developer that was behind on construction tried to keep the maximum penalty. The court cut it from 40% to 10%. So the protection is real, but not instant. The lesson never changes. The buyers who verified everything up front sleep at night. A mature market means risk isn't gone, but total developer impunity is over, replaced by a system built to refund the innocent buyer. There's a deeper reason institutions trust it. Inside the Dubai Financial Center, disputes settle under English common law, the language global capital already speaks. And that maturity attracted a new kind of buyer. One that used to laugh at Dubai, and now buys it by the entire building. There's one part of investing almost everyone forgets until it's too late: getting out. So how easily can you actually exit in Dubai? It's fast. A title transfer in Dubai can be done in days. In London, the same process drags on for 3 to 5 months. And there's no capital gains tax. You keep all the upside. In Portugal, a non-resident pays 28. In the US, 15 is withheld. Here's the catch. The legal exit is frictionless. The market exit isn't. In a shock, buyers vanish. That's what that 42% drop was. The professionals plan their exit before they ever enter. and the smartest of them are already looking a decade ahead. For years, the big institutions dismissed Dubai as too speculative, too flashy. By 2026, that opinion had completely reversed. The government is literally engineering demand. The 2040 plan targets a population near 5.8 million, doubling green space and expanding beaches fourfold. It's spending 54 billion dirhams on new rail, a blue line by 2029, a gold line by 2032. Through land that's empty today, growth funnels into 5 urban centers, from the Creek to Dubai South. So, smart money maps where the city is told to grow. And institutions are doing that, at scale. A new residential trust launched with over 21 billion in assets. An Indian manager bought a whole building. It's not just towers. That trust manages over 35,000 apartments housing 140,000 people across every income tier. That spread, if corporate layoffs hit the luxury end, the affordable end holds steady. It's risk management at city scale. Which brings us back to where we started. The crash. The buyers who kept buying. And the only question that matters. Think back to that month when sales fell off a cliff. 2 kinds of investors lived through it. The first treated Dubai as a sure thing. They borrowed heavily, assumed prices only rise, and the payment plans they ignored became traps. The second did the unglamorous work. They knew gross from net. They diversified. And when fear emptied the market, they bought while everyone else sold. That's the lesson. This is a market that has crashed, violently, more than once, and rebuilt itself stronger each time. Real estate doesn't reward the most excited. It rewards those who did the research, understood the risk, and were patient enough to think in decades. So the question was never, should you buy? Do you understand what you're buying? What could go wrong? And could you survive it? Answer that honestly, and you won't need anyone to sell you a skyline. You'll already know what to do.